Hey everyone, welcome to the Tom's Hardware Podcast for October 25th, 2022. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief Abram Pilch. I'm joined by Associate Editor Les Pounder, Raspberry Pi expert Ash Hill, and our very special guest, a huge star in the maker community. We're so excited to have him on, Jorvon Moss, otherwise known as J. Jorvon, thank you so much for joining us. It's such an honor to have you on our show. As always, for folks who dial in live, we're taking your questions live. But I have to ask you a question. So for the handful of people in the world who don't know what you do, how long have you been doing? How long have you been building robots? And what types of robots have you been building?
Okay, time schedule. Let's see. Well, once upon a time, this big explosion happened and mass was created. Now I share a room with you guys. But no, I started in college around 2015, 2016. But even that, I wasn't really building robots. I was just playing with electronics. I want to say I started building robots specifically around 2018. Yeah, around 2018. 'Cause I think that's when I made my first wearable robot. Is what I usually focus on is robots I can put on my person and travel around and they look cool. Around 2018 is when I started it, and then I got better at it. And then COVID happened, and we went on lockdown, which means I had a lot of time to work on it even more. So I got really good at it because I'm very obsessive when it comes to my projects, where I forget that I am still a human until the project is done. So about 6 years altogether, I think.
Nice.
3 years professionally, only recently.
Fantastic. And you work full time for DigiKey now?
Yeah, this is still new. I'm not even like a year there yet. There we go. Still new.
And what do you do? And what do you do for DigiKey?
I'm a technical content creator, so I help make the content. I go to events. When cool stuff is happening, I'm usually the first person to try to push it and make things happen. I pretty much get paid to do what I was already doing just for a company.
That's great. That's
the dream.
That's the dream. So
yeah,
I know folks are going to ask about your glasses. What do your glasses do?
These are the third version of these glasses. Come on. There we go. Third version of these glasses. This one has a rotation lens for when I'm soldering and doing stuff like that. Also comes with a light. And then this one is just the lens cover because I accidentally cracked a lens before and I got really upset by that. So now I built a lens cover to stop that from happening.
So they don't just look cool. You actually have functions built in so you could use them when you do stuff.
Yeah, I use them a lot, actually. I actually use them a lot more than I thought I was going to use them.
Yeah.
Because I have different versions. This is number 3. The first one just had the lens cover, or just had this. The second one kind of had both of them. It just wasn't very small. It was heavy because I didn't know about circuit design back then. But I learned about circuit design, and for these, I built my own PCB and then just wired them to a battery. So like, they're super simple, super small, really light, which is very important. And I added little ear cuffs things that way it can stay on my head better because it really sucks when you're doing this and you have to keep taking them on and off. So I made these little ear cuff things that wrap around my ear so they stay up on my head better. That way when I do stuff, they don't fly off my head.
Well, did you start with an existing frames pair of glasses, or did you have to make something from scratch?
I got clever with it because I had a few of these extra glasses from back when I was doing steampunk and stuff. So I took a pair of this is my Halloween pair when they have spider lenses on them, spider webs on them. But I took a pair of these and then I just started adding to them. Actually, if you give me a sec, I can show you some of the originals.
Yeah, I'd like to see how they changed.
Don't fall. So these are my first pair. They're just like very steampunky.
Mm-hmm.
And they just moved the lens. It's currently dead because the battery's not working anymore, but like that's all they used to do. And it was for a steampunk like outfit. Then my last ones, which I recently retired these a few months ago, they did the same things as the ones I currently have, but they were so much beefier. Like It got so heavy, I had to make a little head strap for it. So much.
Are some of those components 3D printed?
Yeah, everything is 3D printed. That's my main source of creation is 3D printing. I am that person who will CAD out everything and then print it.
Yeah.
I've only recently started moving a little bit away from it from time, so I'm trying to like laser cut more and use some foam smithing to get some of my designs a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But 3D printing is always my go-to, equipment that I use for when it comes to designing things.
And what do you print? What do you use to print these days?
Currently Lowesbot. So I have a Lowesbot Task Pro, and I have recently a Lowesbot Sidekick, which I have happily named. The Sidekick, his name is Robin because it's red and it's a sidekick. And the Lowesbot Task Pro, I've named Cthulhu because it's very temperamental, but yet it'll still give me what I want.
That's great. So I know you're also really famous for your companion robots.
Yes.
How long have you been doing those, and who's your latest companion?
I've been doing that for a while. That's what started started me being noticed in the maker community was my first one, Aussie, which is a spider robot, which is technically a version of this one over here because I have a little shelf of stuff. That's number 13, I believe. That one's more of a hat than anything. My current one, which is over there in the corner, is this one. Is my current one, which is Fur 03. It's the third version of this one. It has a basic OpenMV camera inside of here for it can do facial recognition and just like looks around and sees a person, then it reacts by like lighting up or something else like that. I haven't fully figured out what I want to do next, but I'm currently upgrading it. So like right next to me, I have a new printed bottom for this, the same thing, but this one is going to have gears on the bottom for it because I want the legs to move. I want the legs to have a little bit more character instead of them just hanging off of ball joints. So that's what I'm currently working on. This is the current wearable robot that I take with me to events and ship across the world and stuff.
That's awesome. What's powering that robot?
2 lithium-ion batteries, 3.7, 2. I can read off of you. 6,600 milliamps, 3.7 volts. Also using a Adafruit power booster.
Cool. So what's the actual brains of it? Is it Pi? Is it microcontroller?
Microcontroller. It's the OpenMV. So OpenMV is a very small micro AI device. I think I have one on my desk now. Sorry, my current work area is like a nightmare, and literally it's one of those situations of like if you live here, you know where the mess is, but if you don't live here, you'd be very confused by the mess.
Sounds like my house.
Yeah. It's not mess, it's inspiration.
But I will tell my kids when they scatter their toys around that they should say that they should say, if you live here, you know.
Yeah, it's one of these. This is the brain of my child. And it's using this, and it's talking to a Maestro servo controller. So that gives it the pan and tilt function, and also gives it the ability to, nose faces.
Slick.
That's awesome.
Perfect. It's small. It's nice. It's portable. It still takes power, but it doesn't take that long power. I mathed out if both batteries are fully charged, it can last about 6-7 hours, even more sometimes, depending on what's happening. Because I did last both days. But I charged it every night, but like both days it ran throughout the entire day. It wasn't until the last day where I kind of forgot to charge the batteries, where it finally like died near the end.
Ouch.
But
yeah.
Very good travel time for walking around all day and looking around and just operating in general.
So Hans asked, did you try to 3D scan your head and 3D print the frames for a custom fit?
I did. I have a plan for that. These are the V3s. I'm working on the V4s already. And I think for the V4s, I'm going to integrate a circuit inside the actual custom frames in themselves. That way they'll be both lighter and I don't have to worry about smaller things falling off or whatever. But at the same time, it may lose a good, look for it. It may look a little bit too smooth for my tasting. I kind of enjoy the very much like put together steampunky weird look of these. So we'll see. But yeah, I definitely thought about that. I am thinking about doing that for the next pair of frames, but it's all about iteration and upgrades here.
Yeah, no question. So how do you get the robots to stay on your shoulder?
Fun fact, I am writing about this. I'm writing a blog currently not as we speak, but currently on how to make a wearable robot stay on you a bit better. Because I've tried everything at least once. I've done magnets, I've done Velcro, I've done straps, I've done think of something, and I've probably done it at least once. So I'm hoping to write a little blog post and give full-on picture examples on different ways you can wear a robot and the pros and cons of each. The one currently is my newest one, but I'm using a strap system for that. The same type of straps you'll see cosplayers or LARPers use to hold their swords. I'm using one of those straps, but I built it inside of a hoodie, so it's on the inside of a hoodie, so you really can't see it. But thanks to that strap being very strong, because it is leather, I can wear it without really getting tired or anything like that. It's very comfortable, but at the same time, it still has a few issues that I'm kicking out and like working on, but we'll get to there when we get there.
I'd say that's where 3D printing comes in handy, because you can make the frame as light as you want it to be.
Yeah, and you can customize it, because you learn very fast that depending on what design you use, it changes a lot. Like a good example for when you use fur here is a good example. Hey, get over here, fur. A good example for fur is I have the actual attachment put on the right side of the robot. And the reason I have it right here is the fact that when I'm wearing it, the strap makes it stay straight on my shoulder like this pretty much throughout the entire time. It's legs in the way. It stays more or less straight up like this half the time, which is what I want. If I put it in the middle, and this is something people keep forgetting about making wearable robots, our shoulders are slanted. So if you don't put that into account, you're going to have a robot on your shoulder that's like doing this half the time. You have to keep adjusting it. So I've designed a way for it can just stay just like that pretty much throughout the entire time. I don't have to worry about. Oh, there we go. Like this throughout the entire time. I don't have to worry about it.
There you go.
That's really amazing. Do you do any other kinds of robots besides the wearable ones?
I've recently spread out my content creation to other types of robots. I have one really, really, really big robot that I'm currently working on. It's based off of my silicon robot that I've called Orbit. Hold on, let me. I don't want to get people sick. I want to show you, but at the same time, you may have to excuse the mess that is currently my laboratory, and you may get a little sick. So I'm gonna cover the screen for a second, for you don't get too sick, and I'll show you. I'm still here. Just looking out. Just kind of going on the trip in our favorite rocket ship. Okay.
Oh man, that takes me back. My kids like that show.
That's currently the robot I'm working on right now. That is Orbit.
Oh wow.
Nice, cool.
It's almost 3 feet tall currently, and it rolls around really well. I'm attaching the head and programming that today. I've been painting it and sanding it, so that's why it looks all nice and smooth currently. When I designed it, I was thinking of a robotic snail. So I'm going to have a custom shell output that I can change the shell depending on what's happening, or depends on what I want it to do depending on that day. But yeah,
that's awesome.
That's my current robot project. That's the really huge one that's driving me slightly insane.
It's literally huge.
Here's the thing. I wanted it to be big because I've done all sizes of robots. I've done crawlers. I've done wearables. I've done rollers, of course, ones with tank treads, stuff like that. But I really haven't had a staple robot that's just huge. And currently in my living situation, I wanted to have a robot that was just going to be huge, but at the same time, I can custom and upgrade it because, as you've seen, I suck at leaving things alone. Like it has to be upgraded. It has to be changed. Yeah. So with this design, it's perfect for it because it can continue to roll and be fine and like that. But with the custom shell design, I can always iterate and upgrade because currently it's being controlled by an Adafruit Feather and this little controller, which I call the Orbit controller. I'm controlling all of its movements except for the head movements. That's going to be controlled something differently. But the driving mechanisms is all going to be controlled by me for now. I want later on to make a custom shell, which will also be a server. That way I can program some AI into it, and that way I can give it some like fun reactions and have it do other things other than just roll around. But then I'll have a shell for that. I'll have a shell for when I'm controlling it. I'll have a shell for whatever is happening at the moment. That way I can, switch it out. I have one I've designed already in my sketchbook that's going to be for bubbles, because if I ever go to a STEM event for kids, I can have it roll around and shoot out bubbles.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought of one for like a little Nerf gun. So for my nephews, when they play their little Nerf gun fights, they'll have like a Nerf gun turn on it. That way you can fight back.
I
so
like that one.
I think that's going to be a fan favorite because that's just cool in general.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
That's amazing.
And it's 3D printed too. Most of those components are.
Yep. The only thing that's not 3D printed, some of the base parts aren't 3D printed. Some of them are. The neck is acrylic, but the entire head and everything is all 3D printed. And it's funny because I've actually had to redo the neck last night because I had a weight problem because I wasn't thinking about weight distribution correctly and my math was off. So I have I still have it here because I was going to use it for a video, but like the fake head, this is much bigger compared to the other one. And the main problem was this is so big that when the rotation wheel would be off or whatever, it would have a hard time turning because all the weight was on one side.
Yeah.
I bet that's taken ages to print all those pieces.
When this happened, this one printed when I didn't have my Sidekick printers. I only had my Lowesbot and a old Creality printer, and that took, let's see, that was 32 hours. The other one was about 7 hours, so about 2 days of printing. And funny fact, I finished the new one in 1 day because I had all 3 printers going. They all printed out a piece. I just glued them all together,
nice.
Put screws in them, spray painted it, sent it down really quickly.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, like it was a really quick patch, but it worked though. It makes me really happy. I tested the servo movements this morning, and I was like, cool, it's acting the way I wanted to act.
Good.
So what do you see as sort of like the next frontier for robots that you wish you could do, but you haven't been able to do yet?
Oh, man, where do I begin? Let's see. Frontier-wise was very interesting because I have an art background. So my original plan for my life was to draw comic books because I was like, I love Marvel comic books. I like this type of stuff. I have an illustration degree, but my main focus was storyboard artists and concept art. Of course, as you realize, I didn't do that. I got into science and started teaching myself everything because I became a sponge of wanting more knowledge, and I just kept doing things. And now I build robots for a living. But Disney has kind of like the best robots right now, in my opinion, when it comes to just like fun robotics. Because a lot of people see robotics and they always assume that, it needs to be doing something. It has to be a server. It has to be, a manufacturer. Like, why do you build this type of things? And for me, I just built them for fun. It's just kicks and giggles. I like having a robot character. They have so much character.
The Tiki Room. It all started with the Tiki Room, right?
Right, the Tiki Room, exactly.
Yeah.
But they have other robots and stuff now too that are really well built. They have their newest Imagineer Groot, which is like a 2 feet tall robot that's all AI controlled and stuff like that. That looks like the character and moves very well. They have another Star Wars drone, which is literally being controlled from an entirely different room, and they have it rolling around the place and stuff like that, which is pretty cool, and it interacts and things like that. Like, it's more than just fun in some way because I do see my robots as my children. I even call them my kids half the time, especially when people ask. Like, if I have kids, I'm like, yes, I do. It rolls around, it has an off button. But like, I feel like the future robotics can technically go into any different ways. Though as an American, it's going to be 100% like in manufacturing or something like that because that's how people see them. But personally, I see them as more of a educational friend, especially if you can just keep customizing them and editing them and stuff like that. Like, there's multiple things you can use them for. I've been told, and I'm actually working on this too, for fur can be perfect for blind people because if I program the facial recognition to notice certain faces, if a person can't see, you can use a vibration or even the legs tapping on the person to let them know a person's there or it's a person they're looking for. Something like around those lines. If you're a person like me who gets anxiety when you have to go somewhere by yourself, you're never by yourself. And worst case scenario, if you ever have to, take over the world, you can just start from here. You can just start with one small robot.
Please don't work for Boston Dynamics.
I respect Boston Dynamics. They said they won't do that, but honestly, I love their robots and I love what they're doing for robotics. But at the same time, the artist part of my brain just does not like the design.
Looking at them, but watching them perform is really cool.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, I feel like you just took a cardboard box and put legs on it.
Now, you mentioned Disney. Did you ever see the Osimo robot that they had? I don't think they made it, but they were hosting it. I think Honda made it, and they had it at Disneyland. And I watched it with my own eyes go up a flight of stairs and down a flight, and it can run to where like 2 feet are off the ground at the same time.
I haven't seen that one, honestly. I think I may have. I'm not really sure. And that's another thing too. I don't like humanoid robots.
Yeah.
I do not like humanoid robots. It's a little bit, not even uncanny valley. It's just you have the imagination to build this and you choose to build it to look like a human.
It could be anything. It could locomote through any mechanism, and we're trying to make it.
But you want it to react and move like a human. You could just have a human. I mean, people do that.
They do.
I don't see the point of, like the bipedal part. Okay, I can understand. You have a bipedal machine. That's cool. It can go for different materials. Why does it look like a human? I don't trust humans enough to trust them with a human design, because either it's going to try to kill us or you're going to try to bang it. Let's be real about it. It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. I mean, I see what you're saying. I think it's like you have such a unique design with your robots because we don't really see people doing a lot of like shoulder mounted robots that are sort of like a little pet like that, which is really awesome. I mean, it's been interesting to see, I think, what people have done in terms of like just getting the robots to walk and like you doing bipedal movement, because it could be more of a challenge. But, you're right. It's like, we have people, right? But it's interesting what they've been able to achieve technically. But I think your point is so well taken that you need to, like, why make a robot that just looks like a person when you could make it into a piece of art, or you could make it look like something totally unique?
Or even like a bipedal one, like, okay, it's cool. It looks like it's bipedal. It has 2 legs. Why not make a raptor robot? Like, that's even cooler than just making like a human shape one. If I know for a fact it can stand up straight up like a human, you can make it tilt over a little bit and make a dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Fair enough. I mean,
there's multiple cool designs you can play with. We have an entire biological system of designs that you can easily just be like, oh, let me open up an anatomy book on animals and figure out how this works and see if I can alter it, some, what is it called, biomechanical stuff to it. You can have fun with it, but
just open up Spore, go crazy, and then try to duplicate it.
Yeah, but instead we just try to duplicate humans. We know how humans work. We got entire books on it. It's just...
Yeah, that's true. Time to move on from humans. We're bored. We're boring.
I thought by the time of 16 you'd get like superpowers or something, like some X-Men stuff. But no, we just keep growing older and taller and stuff. And so I'm a little bit disappointed in human evolution.
It's true. It is really lame. I mean, I was kind of hoping, I would have more sort of augmentations by this point.
Right.
Jay's trying.
Yeah, but you're doing a good job with the glass. You're doing a good job with the glasses there. I used to have a guy who I was friendly with who wrote for me named Steve Mann. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a professor at University of Toronto who kind of touts himself as the first human cyborg, and he since like the 80s has been wearing AR glasses that he made, and he wears them everywhere, and it's just like he's been doing that. He's been making his own for literally for 40 years. And he occasionally gets in trouble because people get mad at him for wearing his AR glasses everywhere. He got kicked out of a McDonald's in France, and they were really mean to him or whatever. And he goes everywhere with that. And his point was I can't function without this augmentation now. So
we had that one guest that had under his skin, he had embedded a microchip.
Yes,
and it was like an
true.
NFC that he could. Scan
That's
it,
true.
places,
Or people
reprogram it.
who have magnets. They
Yeah.
but you know, that's pretty passive. We need to get to
I mean, even philosophy-wise, we can always say we've been augmenting before that, because technically, how many people can live without a cell phone?
right. Yeah, I mean, we're all definitely living. We cannot live in the state of nature. That's for sure.
Jay, you should surgically attach your next companion to your shoulder.
I thought about that, and that's why I go to the gym. I make the joke constantly that I only work out because I got to carry robots on my person.
That's gonna mess up the overhead press.
Yeah.
The only reason I work out now is because I have to carry my robots. But no, I've thought about that. But the main problem with that is the human body. You can't really tell cells what to do when it comes to stuff. And then sometimes if you implant any type of foreign object, your cells may attack it, and you can get sick, and it'll mess up everything else. Plus, we already know plastic doesn't really biodegrade naturally. So like if I would die with this robot in my shoulder, unless I like get fully burnt, will that be buried with me? How would that age well? You know, that's something I know there's a lot of like dystopian future type of stuff. They really don't talk about like if you die with these parts in you, do they have like a grave robber who just like robs your body of these parts? Like how does this work?
I think there's a Star Trek episode about that somewhere, surely.
Yeah.
Well, I think the point is by the time people would grave rob it, there'd be a better model.
If Apple controls it, yeah.
It'd be time for an upgrade. Besides, if it's Apple, you could only buy stuff from the App Store for it. So sorry, Apple. Speaking of, this Halloween is coming up. Are you doing anything special for Halloween with your robots?
I'm hoping to have this done in time, because if I can get Orbit done in time, what I wanted to do is when my nephews go trick-or-treating, I'll have Orbit roll behind them with like a little bucket as a shell this time, like a really big bucket. And then like every time they go trick-or-treating, I can just get some free candy and just keep going. Just have a bucket from the robot for that. I can even attach one of those walkie-talkies to it and be like, pretend that I'm a child. Like, trick-or-treat. Just do a fake little voice. You know? I don't even eat candy like that. I just want to do it. Like,
yeah, that would be great. Would it be autonomous, or would you be remote controlling it?
I would remote control. I don't trust anything being autonomous as of yet. I want to get to that point. That's why I'm probably going to use the Pi and like Google's cloud services to build the AI system for it in the future. The problem with AI stuff, I've noticed, kids don't really know how to act around it sometimes.
Yeah.
My nephew's being the best example. And I don't want to have an accident where like my nephew is, I don't know, throwing a fit and not moving out of the robot's way, and the robot just says screw it and roll him over. Like,
yeah, that would be a problem.
I mean, his mom would be mad, but like I think he would learn an important lesson of when giant 3-foot robot is coming at you to move out the way.
Submit to the robot overlords. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean
that's a fair take.
Points on standing his ground, but negative points on not moving out of the way.
Yeah.
Lessons there.
Fair enough. So, Les, you've been working on a Halloween project recently. What's yours like?
Very simple compared to Jay's stuff, but I enjoy it anyway. So yeah, Halloween's coming up, and I thought, let's do something cool for Halloween. Let's have something that lights up and has a bit of fun. So, what can I do? So I thought, well, I could do this. You can just see slightly out of shot. Let's get it back in shot. There we go. This is a 3D printed Tom's Hardware logo with a pumpkin for the O in Tom, because I thought, why not? But that pumpkin is hollow, and behind there are 7 NeoPixels and the Raspberry Pi Pico W. Now I can make the lights go any color that I want. No problem at all. NeoPixels with Circuit Python and the Pico W is really easy. But I thought we need something a bit more interactive. So I thought cheer lights. So cheer lights is a worldwide network of illumination. So any device that runs the cheer lights API, and it's just a simple JSON string or a text file, will just latch onto what the latest color is and we'll display it. It's as easy as that. So if I just go to Edge now, I can show you. Let's see, where is Edge? I have so many windows open, it's amazing. So you can see right now, it's very small text, but there was a color of magenta sent out about half an hour ago. And the latest one was orange, sent out even sooner. So I'm going to do one now. I go to the right browser, and I'm going to say send the message cheerlight. So cheerlights white to make the pumpkin glow bright. Yes, I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. All the old jokes coming out. All the old jokes are new once again.
Wasn't even spooky.
I really can't do jokes. So I can see in the output on Python shell, it's still saying orange. It's got a 10-second delay, and it's just gone white. So there we go. So my code running on the PicoW says, okay, what's the latest color? It's white. So I'm going to set that to white. And the code's really simple. Majority of this is the dictionary of the colors. So we've got the usual stuff there to import the libraries for Wi-Fi, for NeoPixels, and also GPIO controls. So there's GPIO board. We're going to set the GPIO pin to GPIO 0, which is top left on the board. We've got 7 pixels in the string. And I want them set to 0.1 brightness because 0.3 is just a little too bright. I then just turn off the LEDs to start with. So we've got a nice starting black. Wait for 0.1 of a second. And then I've got a function. And the function is just there to define the colors. And I've called it scare. And it takes an argument of a color. So the colors that I have to choose from are red, green, blue, cyan, white, old lace. No idea what that is. Purple, magenta, yellow, orange, and pink. So if any color comes from the net, it says, okay, if the color's in there, print the color's name, and then fill all of the neopixels to that color, and then show it. And if it's not in there, say, sorry, it's not in the list. And then just down here is all the connections to get on the internet. So it connects to my Wi-Fi. It then gets a JSON feed, which has the last color, which is one I just showed you in Edge a second ago. And then I strip out from that feed just the information that I need, which is field 1. Field 1 is the color. And I then use my function, scare, and pass it the arguments of that color, which then triggers this dictionary to be read by this conditional statement, and the LEDs light up. It waits for 10 seconds, and it does something else. So right now I can see people are actually using this on the net. They're sending cheerlights. They literally just send a tweet to cheerlights with any of those colors, and away you go. Nice. Really simple. And this is going to be a how-to on Tom's Hardware. In fact, it's actually written already, which is amazing for me.
That's pretty neat.
So, Jorvon, do you use any cloud services with your robots to send them information like that?
I'm working on it. That's new. I'm used to using microcontrollers and things like that for very small things, but the more as I expand, the more I want to get into more AI other than vision, because I can do vision now. I just need to program it to do other things. My whole thing with it is I don't trust humans messing with my robots. So we'll see on what I figure out for it to do, because, humans aren't the best when it comes to messing with my beautiful machines.
It's a big world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, Ash, you have a special project you've been working on as well.
I do. And before I get into it, I just want to point out I made this hat for Halloween last year, and it's got a little vial with a Pico, wherever I'm pointing, a Pico and a battery, and I haven't charged it since last year. It's just still there. And it did turn purple, but a wire came out, so now it just turns red whenever I turn my head.
Yeah,
anyway.
I was staring at that for a good minute, like, what's happening with the hat there? That looks super cool.
It was a lot of fun putting it together. But today, this project I'm going to share isn't exactly Halloween related. I guess if you put a pumpkin on it or a skull or something, it would be. But here at our house, we have this weird hobby of collecting marbles. We love them. We don't play marbles. Don't you dare bash my marbles against each other. I'll get upset. But we collect marbles. So what do you do when you collect them? You look at them. And how can you make looking at them cooler? You put a light through it somehow, or you go outside and get it sun charged, or get an LED. So we've purchased a little rotating platform. I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. It was kind of loud and you couldn't really program it. So then we opted to create our own from scratch using a Raspberry Pi Pico. I got one with me here. Let me get my camera flipped over. Bam, up here. Hey, it's me. This is the little guy we made. This is just a marble stand on top. And it obviously it's Pico powered, so you've got your USB there. It has a button on the outside that doesn't control power. We're going to program that to have different LED effects. So you can have it be a certain color or go through some crazy rainbow stuff. Now, let me get this lid off here because inside's where it gets really cool. And Jay, you should appreciate this. We got a whole gear system rigged up, right? Yeah, we had.
That's cool.
A website we found where you could tell it how big you wanted your gear to be, how many teeth to have on it, and then you can export that as an SVG file. And we were just using Blender to make our files, and we just like extruded it up a little bit and made it thick. And inside we've got obviously a little ring of LEDs. In here on the lid is a bearing for bicycle handlebars. And around, I'm going to get my fingers all greasy. Oh, they already are great. We've got bearings in here on each corner that you would find either in skateboard wheels, roller skate wheels, those kinds of bearings, and a little motor controller there for the servo. And the servo will rotate this little gear up here, which makes the platform spin. And I'm going to turn it on and show you guys what it looks like with pretty marble on top. Get it plugged in there. Boom. And right now we have it set so that there are different colors for each of the LEDs, so it kind of changes colors. It's a little hard to see on the screen. And the red light you see right there is just from the motor controller board. It had an LED on it, but we kind of wanted it to be visible anyway because it makes the whole thing look cool.
That's nice.
It's going slow, but you can watch that little piece of tape to see how fast it goes.
It's a marble Lazy Susan.
It is automated.
That is very cool. I'm loving the color change as well. It's really just hitting all the aspects inside the marble.
That was the best marble to use for it because it has like a big white streak and it catches the light really good. But I won't get into marbles.
Probably like a bigger marble. Which
you don't want to lose your marbles.
I've got much bigger marbles. This one just looks good. We probably have thousands.
It's funny because
I'm not exaggerating.
I often collect stuff during like holidays because that can be used for parts later. And during Christmas, I always buy the Christmas orbs. So like I still have this giant Christmas orb from like last Christmas for no reason that it looks cool. And you can put stuff in here in the future to make it do cool stuff. But like
put it on a robot.
Yeah, put it on a robot. It's a robot's head. It can be a base for a satellite if I ever decide to shoot something into space. I should probably shoot something into space.
Yeah, look at your shirt.
Yeah, I can have my own satellite, right? Like, there's rules for that apparently, but that's fine. My own little small satellite that can like have cloud service and control my robots from anywhere on the planet. That'd be nice.
And you could tweet at it and change its color.
Yeah,
I do. It's funny thing about it because you said for Halloween, but like I do have this mask for Halloween. Ooh. I'm still putting together.
That's cool.
Well, that's spooky.
Yeah, it's spooky, scary skeletons.
Oh, look at the eyes.
Yeah, apertures, very nice.
Oh, that's very very slick.
Now automating that somehow with like a servo so that they could go on their own would be really
cool. Last year it was a servo. Last year I had cut it in and put a servo in here to do it. But this year I'm using a wire and there's a spring to pull it back and forth so I can control it myself.
Oh, that makes sense. That's good. Can you imagine what Jim Henson would create these days?
What a very realistic looking pumpkin.
Oh yeah, this is a foam pumpkin. They sell them at Michael's. They're great for stuff like this. I got the first idea from Jen, my friend Jen, who did she did the laser cutting house and put it inside of a pumpkin last year. But SKS Props recently did some more stuff too using foam pumpkins like this. But they come pretty orange and like kind of fake telling. But what I did with mine is I just took a paintbrush and started smudging it a bit and making it look a lot more realistic and stuff. So it's a fun little thing that I can like wear and mess with people and stuff like that. I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do with it yet. Halloween is fun, but it's not where I shine the brightest. I'm not that dramatic.
That's not an LED pun.
Yeah, not where you shine the brightest. Oh,
I know Simon Brothers during the Halloween time. That's the witchy hour. I let the witches handle that one. That's their time of the year. You know, let them have that. No one messes with November. And then during Christmas, we let Mariah Carey take over. It's all good.
Well, I really wanted to thank you for joining us. It's been such an honor to have you on the show. You're such a big fan. I'm such a big fan of yours. I know we all are. And thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We are here at 2 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday, and that is normally 7 p.m. UK time for our UK viewers. But next week it'll be 6 p.m. because of daylight savings time. We have to all switch to Swatch Beats time. That will save that. That's a deep cut. Back in the those who are not familiar, back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, Swatch had their own attempt to create a universal time zone called Swatch Beats, and like so people could meet online. You know, instead of just telling people to meet at like UTC, it was like I'll meet you at Beat 57 or whatever, and like they had watches that had this like Swatch Beats time. There's still a website somewhere for it. And they even managed to have like CNN put it on the homepage for a while of like what the Beats time was.
Wow.
So
like the Esperanto of time.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. The Esperanto of time. So I have no idea what time we're on in Swatch Beats time, but
we'll find out. Huh?
But whatever it is, you could translate it. Anyhow, thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Jorvon, and we'll see you all later. Bye, everyone.